like it could be the best playoff game of the weekend. Chargers at Jaguars. Chargers 2-point road favorites in Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert. And it sounds like Mike Williams is going to play. Chargers have to take advantage of a bad Jags offensive line. And in the end, I think this game is going to come down to coaching. And I don't trust Brandon Staley still. So I think I like Trevor Lawrence to get his first win in the first playoff win.
I'm with you, Dylan. I think the Jags are going to win this game. And I think the reason the Jags are going to win this game is because they have Travis Etienne on the offensive end, and he's a difference maker, not only on the ground but also in the air catching the ball. But the big thing is their front four, their front seven on their defense. Oh my God, they are flying around and they are fast and they are just knocking people's socks off right now. And Rashawn Slater was taken off the injured reserve and designated to return, but he's not going to play this weekend. So could Trayvon Walker, Arden Key, and Josh Allen get after Herbert with still a banged up Chargers offensive line? And I know Mike Williams is going to play, but he has back spasms, short week, cross country flight. I really like this Jags front seven taking after Herbert and make enough tackles in the open field, because Austin Eckler also for the Chargers is their leading receiver, where they're not going to let him make a guy miss and turn a 4-yard reception into a 12-yarder. I think the Jags and Dougie P, they got something good rolling. And, they looked nervous last week against the Titans, but I think that was because that was a win and get in. They were nervous. Now that they're in, this is kind of the week 2 of their playoffs. The nerves are going to settle a little bit. And, they got a Super Bowl winning coach on their side in Dougie P, and he's going to get them ready to play. And the Jags are going to advance.
I guess that makes all three of us. So looks like
the
Chargers
are winning the game.
Yeah. So, no, I think Travis Etienne's the difference. When he can get going on the ground, that opens everything for this offense. They've done it multiple times this year. I don't know what the record is when he gets over 100 yards, but it's got to be 6-1, 7, something like that. It's some really, really good number. So it opens everything else up when he runs. And the Chargers defense sucks against the run. I think they're like the 9th worst in the league against the run in terms of yards per game. So I think Etienne's going to feast, and he's going to hit 160.
Well, then another player we're not talking about is Christian Kirk. 10 months ago, people were making fun of the Jags and him for giving him $84 million over 4 years. Well, joke's on us, because I think he has over 10 touchdowns.
He's like top 8 fantasy wide receiver.
80 plus catches. I mean, he's having a career year, and he's playing great. Same with Zay Jones.
Don't forget Evan Ingram now.
And Evan Ingram.
He won people's fantasy or ruined people's fantasy. He literally killed everyone.
Talk about how to build a receiving core in the offseason. Shout out to Trent Baalke and Doug Peterson for doing that.
They have Calvin Ridley coming in next year.
Calvin Ridley coming in next year too. So shout out to Trent Baalke for that. So like I said, they're young, they're hungry, and the Jags, they're confident. That's the big thing. They're hot. They're not limping in the playoffs. The Chargers, for some reason, played their starters way too late last week against the Broncos. They lost that game, short trip across the country. And, like Dylan said, Duval County, they're getting after it. TIAA Bank Stadium last week looked like when Georgia and Florida were there. Those fans, they were getting into it. They're going to be hyped up. I think the Jags are going to get their first playoff win since 2017.
Yeah. And one thing too that I saw this stat today that we've said this before on the podcast too, but the biggest key to playoff success is running the ball and stopping the run. Here's the stat. Teams have a 75% chance of winning in the playoffs when they outrush their opponent. Last year, 5 of the 6 wild card winners outrushed their opponents.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even on the college level, Dylan, for your game, Michigan, Ohio State, the winner of the last 22 games has outrushed the opponent.
Yep, exactly.
It's not that hard. You come this time of the year. The game, wait for it, simplifies, and your good coaches understand that, and your bad ones don't. Yep.
And do you think Staley gets fired if the Chargers lose?
No.
No. To bring this team in with all the injuries they had and to still fight and scratch and claw and get 10 wins, I don't think they're going to, because you need to realize their owner is a cheap son of a bitch. And he's not going to want to pay him for services he's not bringing him anymore, unless they have a deal with Sean Payton ready to roll, and he's got a pen in his hand, and you can get him in there. But I don't think they're going to fire Staley.
Yeah, don't be a Texans owner and pay 3 coaches at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
just keep Staley.
Well, that I can't believe he was playing Mike Williams that late in the game.
Well, that is just
with a guy that has with the injury history he has, and he is the difference maker with the Chiefs, with the Chargers offense, because they go as Mike Williams goes. That guy he flips the field.
Well, exactly. He's probably the best 50-50 ball catcher in the NFL. I mean, how high he can hang in the coordination he has to get his feet in bounds while catching this ball also is ridiculous. And, I think the Chargers this year played like 4 games when him, Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler were all on the field at the same time with their skilled positions. And for him to play him that late is just ridiculous. Going into that game, knowing you're going to Jacksonville. The Ravens lost. They were playing the Bengals again. You knew you had to get on a plane and fly 3 hours across the country and have a crazy time schedule this week. You didn't know you were playing on Saturday. Maybe you knew, but that's some coaching malpractice right there. And I'm not saying they're going to fire him, but if they lose this game, you can guarantee that seat might be a little warmer, especially if he can't get a defense to play in Los Angeles when that's his calling card. Because remember, he had the number 1 defense in the NFL for the Rams in 2020 before he was hired.
Yeah. Well, and they don't play like it since he's taken over as the Chargers head coach.
Well, their problem is they decided to sign a bunch of old veteran players who are hurt, and they haven't built their roster with young players through the draft. I mean, you say Derwin James. Derwin James is great, but unfortunately, that young man always is hurt. He's always missing 6 games of the year. Also, with
getting ejected.
Year, Khalil Mack, bringing in Kyle Van Noy, he's a nice player, but he's older too. They haven't had a defensive tackle in 12 years. I mean, I think Sean Green is still running in that touchdown the divisional round against the Chargers right now. So that'll be the big thing for Staley. Now I'm looking to the offseason, but can he coach up that defense, and can they get some new young players in there? And can they stay healthy, for the love of God?
Yeah, for sure. And I suppose with that, let's go over to the Sunday games. And the Dolphins travel up to Buffalo, where the Bills are